now that I have 7 books stacked on top of each other and one propping up my camera, I think we're good. Picture this. You're talking to your friends and you're talking about like shows that you watched as a child or in like your younger years, and you're reminiscing about like the funny things that you remember from the show or some quotes that you can just rattle off the top of your head, and you end up saying, "It's the best show that I've ever watched, ever. It's a piece of cinema, if you will." But then you go to watch it on your streaming service that it's now on, and you come to find out it's not as good as you remember. It just really isn't. Surprisingly, this happens to a lot of people. With that being said, there aren't a lot of TV shows that can stand up to the test of time, especially TV sitcoms. That's what I'm looking at today. Whether late 90s to early 2000s sitcoms hold up to the praise that they get on the internet from people my age or a little bit older. I will say, in my personal experience, most of them don't hold up to the hype that people give them. Whether it's dated comedy, too simple of plots, or even weird microaggressions towards minorities, or just things that were deemed funny back then but don't really hold up today. I'm simply just saying that my personal taste has changed since these shows have aired, and I feel like society's taste in television and their opinions on television shows has changed drastically since these types of TV shows aired. And that's because the type of TV or the type of content that we now come to expect has changed drastically, simply because of streaming services that now allow us to watch an entire season of a TV show in one sitting. Or we just want so many things to happen in one episode that's simply just, that's not how those shows were written. So of course they don't seem good now. In order to accurately make the decision of whether these types of TV shows hold up to the praise they are given, I've decided to look at 4 TV shows from differing networks, differing target demographics, or even varying release dates. Also, in order to give them even more of a fair chance to make this opinion for myself, I've decided to take the best rated episode and the worst rated episode, according to IMDb, of these TV shows, and just judge them simply off of those. What people claim or what people have rated the best of this TV show and what people have rated the worst of this particular TV show. Now, which TV shows am I going to watch? That's the question. The shows that I chose were Friends, which has a cult-like fandom where the fans of this show are quite literally willing to die on the hill that is this show, and that this show is amazing. Boy Meets World, which ran for 3 more seasons than it was initially planned for, simply because of how popular it was at the time. That 70s show, a show that is deemed perfect by a lot of its fans and a lot of people my age. And finally, The Nanny, a show that has this newfound popularity because of fashion trends that are slowly migrating towards the fashion that is in this show. So it has this newfound popularity in young girls who look to Fran for fashion inspiration. First show up on the chopping block is Friends. Friends has an overall rating of an 8.9. The highest rated episode being in season 5, episode 14, called The One Where Everyone Finds Out, and it has a ranking of 9.7, so almost perfect. The premise of this episode is all of the friends in the group find out that Monica and Chandler are in a relationship. Hijinks ensue, obviously. One group, which is Rachel, Phoebe, and Joey, they know that Chandler and Monica are dating, but they want to play with Chandler and Monica and pretend like they don't know, and make Phoebe pretend to hit on Chandler, while Monica and Chandler know that they know and know that they are trying to pull a fast one on them. So they try and prank him back. It's a very funny episode. So I understand why it is the highest ranked episode. It's very cute. Classic TV, classic early 90s sitcom. So this episode is very good. The lowest rated episode is in season 4, episode 21, and it is called The One with the Invitation. And this episode's ranking is a 6.9. The premise of this episode is Ross is getting married to his long-term girlfriend. Her name is Emily. And he is addressing all of his wedding invitations to everyone that he wants to invite, including his friends, obviously. And his fiance says something about how she doesn't know if she would be comfortable inviting one of her exes to her wedding, but if he's comfortable with it, that's totally fine. So this causes Ross to reminisce about him and Rachel's relationship, the good and the bad. And then when the invitations get sent out and Rachel gets one, this makes her think about her and Ross's relationship, all of the good, all of the bad. So this episode is mainly just a recap episode. It is a flashback episode. It shows clips from other episodes. So it's not really an episode of Friends. It is a montage of clips from Friends. So I understand why this is the lowest rated episode. You've already seen all of this. Why do we need to see it again? I get it. With all of that being said, the IMDb ranking of this show is an 8.9. My personal ranking of this show is a 6, simply because there's just some dated comedy, and there's just some things that I don't really find funny throughout the majority of this show. I have watched the whole show, even though I just watched these 2 episodes for this video. I have watched the whole show. I'm not the biggest fan. I don't hate it, but I by no means love it as much as the people who claim to love this show. Next show that we're going to be looking at is Boy Meets World. This show's overall ranking is an 8.1 on IMDb, with the highest ranking episode having a 9.4, which is season 5, episode 17, and it's titled, And Then There Was Sean. The premise of this episode is the core group of this show gets stuck in the school because they have detention, so they're locked in the school. They come to find out. This episode is kind of like Breakfast Club meets Scream, in a sense. They're locked in the school. They try and be like a group of misfits, kind of, not really. They find a random girl who is stuck in the school. It's very random. But just throughout the episode, you know, creepy things happen. There is a killer who's like killing all of the characters. And towards the beginning of the episode, everyone thinks it's their teacher, Mr. Feeney. Turns out it's not. And come to find out at the end of the episode, it's Sean. But is it really Sean? Because everything was a dream. Oh, it was a stress dream that Sean had because Topanga and Corey are broken up. And if Topanga and Corey aren't together, then what can he count on? So it's just kind of like, it teaches the lesson that, you know, relationships are all about the people in it. And yes, it affects people outside of it, but that's not their fault. So I do like the message that it portrays. It's a very good message. It's a good message to have. It is a cute episode. I did like the episode. The premise of this episode is Topanga and Angela are kind of fighting, I guess, with Corey and Sean. So these are our 4 main characters. They are fighting over the apartment that they currently live in together because both couples have broken up. So obviously they can't live in the same apartment. It's kind of just like a filler episode. It's the 2nd episode in the very last season, so they've kind of run out of things to do. We've seen Corey and Topanga break up so many times. We've seen Angela and Sean break up so many times. They always get back together. So it's kind of just redundant. I understand why it's the lowest ranking episode. We've seen it before. That's all I can really say. My personal ranking for Boy Meets World is, it's a 7. It is better than Friends, in my opinion. It teaches some very valuable lessons. And I think that this particular television sitcom really holds up to the test of time because it teaches important lessons The show also evolved with its target demographic. It started out with the main characters being in middle school, and it was very much geared towards middle schoolers. Then as the characters grew up, the topics that they tackled and they decided to portray on this TV show grew up with them and with their audience. So it's a very good TV show, and it still is. So go Boy Meets World. Second to last TV show is That 70's Show. That 70's Show has a IMDb ranking of 8.1. The highest rated episode of That 70's Show has an 8.8, and it is season 8, episode 22, which is That 70's Show finale. That is the name of the episode, and it is the final episode of this show. The premise of this episode is Eric, the main character of the show, his parents have decided to sell their house where the show takes place in Wisconsin, and they are moving to Florida, but his mom has second thoughts. Two of the characters get together, Fez and Jackie. They finally understand that they have feelings for each other. Donna, another main character, she decides she's going to go to college, and Eric, as I said before, the core main character of this show, he was not on this season because his character went to Alaska. So he's decided to move back. So a lot of things come to an end. It still kind of leaves it open to maybe have a revival, which they are currently trying to do. But yeah, it's the final episode of a show that went on for 8 seasons. That's all it really is. The lowest rated episode is season 8, episode 10. And it has a rating of a 6.2, and it's called Sweet Lady. The premise of this episode is Jackie gets a job as a local daytime television TV show. The premise of this episode is Jackie gets a job on a local TV show. She figures out that it's not all that it's cracked up to be. Donna decides to go to Randy's cabin for the weekend, which Randy is Eric's filler character since Eric isn't on the show anymore. She starts to doubt his intentions for inviting her on this weekend away to his parents' cabin. There's not really a lot going on in this episode, honestly. It's just another episode of That 70's Show, and it has the same like jokes and cadence and pacing of every other episode of That 70's Show, but it lacks the charm of all of the previous episodes. This entire season is just kind of like that. It is just another season of That 70's Show, but because it's gone on for so long, it's lost a lot of its audience. That being said, my personal ranking for That 70's Show is a 7.5. Good show. It is a very good show. I love it. But it just, like I said, it went on for too long. It didn't do what Boy Meets World did, to where it evolved with the people who were watching it, because it went on for 8 years. It went from the main characters being in high school to now there are adults dealing with things that happen in the adult world. It never started tackling adult problems. It was still the same issues that they had when they were in high school. So it just kind of, it became one note, and people weren't really too fond of it, minus the finale, because it's the finale of a show. So yeah. Final show we're gonna look at for this video is The Nanny. The best rated episode of The Nanny has an 8.6. It is season 6, episode 22, and it is titled The Finale, Part 2. So, like That 70's Show, the final episode of this show is the best rated episode. I don't know what that says about the shows, but I just feel like this is simply because more people tuned in to this episode of the show simply because it was the finale, and I'm sure a lot of people knew about it. And I don't really think there's a lot of ways that you could mess up a final episode of a TV show. The premise of this episode, again, like That 70's Show, it ties up all of the loose ends from this TV show and from this season in particular. Our main character, Fanny, she has married Mr. Sheffield, which is one of the other main characters. She's pregnant, she goes into labor, she has her kids, and then throughout this season, they have been deciding whether they want to move to California or stay in New York, and they finally moved to California with their kids going off to explore Europe, and so on and so forth. So, just ties up all of the storylines that we had throughout this entire season. Cute episode, you know, it's the final episode. Like I said, for that 70s show, it's the final episode. Everything ends, everyone leaves. They move from the house and the city that we've come to expect from this show, so the show ends, naturally. Now, the lowest ranking episode, which has the rating of a 5.7, the lowest ranking we've had in this entire video. This episode is season 2, episode 25, and it is called The Chatterbox. The premise of this episode is they're holding auditions at Mr. Sheffield's house for something. Completely forgot what. But there's a girl who comes to audition. She's not the best. She's kind of like Franny. She's very fashionable, but kind of just like out of it. And Franny decides to help her out because she knows a salon that is looking for a job because this actress is homeless, just like Franny was at the beginning of the show, and is looking just, you know, get back on her feet so that she can do what she loves. Franny gets her a job at her favorite salon, and it's honestly just an episode simply about the people who were at the salon. It's not really about the main characters of the show. It focuses mainly on the owner of the salon, the people who work there, and then this actress who now got a job at the salon. Those are the main people that it focuses on. So I think that's why this is the lowest ranking episode. It's not about the people that we watched the show for. So yeah, people aren't gonna like it. Now, my personal ranking for The Nanny it's a 7.5. Okay, don't hate me, but I am a little bit biased because I do love The Nanny. I just love Fran as a character. The show is just cute. It's good. So it's my personal ranking. Now, to answer the question, do these shows hold up to the praise that they now get? Of course, this is my opinion. You can have a different opinion, but in my opinion, it is with the following. Friends? No. It's way too overhyped, and there's no way that it could live up to the hype that it has. People have put Friends on this pedestal that people have such high expectations for it. There's no way that it could be as good as people say that it is. Boy Meets World. Yes, because there's not a lot of praise for it. It's very even toned with the praise that it gets. People say that it's good if they talk about it. And it is good. It's a good show. That 70s show. Kind of with the way that some people, especially people within the college age range, talk about it, I don't think it lives up to the hype that they give it, but the people who watched this show as it came out, it's a good show. It's good. There's not like an overwhelming amount of like intense praise. So yeah, it just fell victim to going on for too long. The Nanny. Yes, it lives up to the hype, simply because it does not have any. The Nanny is a show that a lot of people forget about, and frankly, a lot of people just haven't watched. So there's no way that it could disappoint you. When you're going to watch The Nanny, you know what you're getting. And most of the time, it's not people watching it for the first time. And if you are, you were recommended it in a very casual tone. It's just very much, oh, do you want a simple show to watch? You should probably watch The Nanny. So yes, it lives up to the minimal hype that it has. So those are my opinions on these 4 shows. Obviously I missed some. Obviously there were other sitcoms that I could have done and things like that, but these are the 4 that I decided to choose simply because I had seen all of these. I've watched all of these shows, and it kind of goes in like hype order. I hear a lot about Friends. I hear more than the rest about Boy Meets World. Hear a lot about that 70s show. Don't really hear a lot about The Nanny. So, look, it was good spectrum. Yeah. Thank you for watching. and I hope you enjoyed.